So today our main theme is with power comes responsibility, uh, also Dumbledore bound. And today, of course, our main person that we'll be talking about today is Dumbledore, as shown in the title. So the main theme is with greater power, the ones that are more powerful are subjected to protect the weaker and those who are inferior. And Dumbledore, if you guys have read the book, we all know that he is the most powerful wizard of the time. So he is very obligated to protect all the weak, like the muggle, the minorities, magical beasts, and people like Lupin, like werewolves and stuff. Okay, before we begin, do you guys know what Albus Dumbledore's full name is? It isn't just Albus.
Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. And also, what's
Yes.
this lesson about?
It says right here, with power comes responsibility, Dumbledore bound. Yeah, and that's also correct. Um, Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. That is his full name. And well, some speculate that his full name is passed down from his parents. But do you guys know what Albus means? What his first name means?
White.
Yes, white. That is very correct. However, we do see him wearing white. We see him having a snow white beards, white hair, and everything. But his story isn't well. If we look at the
And he's gay.
yep, he's very old. He isn't really like his actions aren't white if we classify white as, good and black as evil and tainted. So we'll see because at first we all thought that Dumbledore was like some sort of very powerful and great figure, but we later find out that he actually used to be best friends with the last Dark Wizard and also shared views.
And is gay.
Well, no, no, I don't think he is. All right.
More than friends, lovers.
All right. So let's see Dumbledore's family tree. So Dumbledore is, well, here it says Albus. He has two siblings, Aberforth and Ariana. His parents are Percival and Kendra. If you guys noticed, Percival is also one of Dumbledore's middle names. So that's very speculated that all his middle names are passed down from his ancestors. Albus is actually a half-blood because his mother, Kendra, is actually a Muggle-born. Of course, you may think, aren't Muggle-borns wizards? But it's considered by the magical society only those who are half-blood or pure blood are considered wizards because they don't like Muggle-borns. Muggle-borns are considered Muggles, the same as Muggles. So um that's why they also called Harry a half-blood too, because his mother, Lily, was also a Muggle-born. So throughout Dumbledore's life, he was really bound to his family because even though he was like outstanding at school, he was going to but he was, well, we could say weighed down by his family. In his family, there were two obscuruses, which were wizards or witches who had uh like repressed energy within them that they could not control. One of them is very obvious. It's Credence. Of course, Credence is not mentioned on this family tree because he is a character exclusive to the Magical Beasts series. Credence is Albus's nephew, Aberforth's son, and he is one of them who he is one of the Obscurus, and he was recruited by Grindelwald. Of course, we're not really sure who the other one is, but we can safely assume that it's probably Ariana because with his backstory, it said that Ariana was bullied by some Muggle children for her abilities, and we can probably infer that it was her Obscurus abilities. Also, because of that, Percival was very angry, of course, that his daughter was being bullied. So he went to the Muggle children and gave them a lesson. Of course, he was later sent to jail because of that. So that left Kendra to raise Ariana. And so Albus, he was originally going to go on like a world trip after his graduation, was forced to come back to help raise Ariana, who later killed Kendra. Of course, after this, Ariana eventually dies because of a struggle between Albus, Aberforth, and Grindelwald. And it was like a very mixed fight, so they didn't know who cast the spell that killed Ariana. So Albus he didn't really want to go find Grindelwald for revenge because he was scared that Grindelwald would tell him that it was actually him who killed Ariana.
It's a heavy burden to him.
Yeah, it burdened him for a very long time. So in the mirror that Harry found in his first year, which showed all their desires, for example, Harry saw his whole family or like his whole ancestry, all the Potters. Ron saw him outshining his brothers, which we talked about in Ron's Odyssey. He saw himself, doing better than them. And when Harry asked Dumbledore what he saw, Dumbledore said that he saw himself with socks because every Christmas everybody would give him books and he never ever got socks. So, of course, that was probably a lie because I don't think he really wants socks that much. And when J.K. Rowling was asked about this, she said that Dumbledore would probably see Ariana in Ariana's dead corpse in the mirror because Ariana in the mirror. His family, the
His
Bogart
family will come back.
Yeah. However, there's also another personal magical thing, the Bogart. For example, Harry's greatest fear is the Dementor, so the Bogart turns into a Dementor for him. Ron is fearful of spiders, so the Bogart turned into a giant spider for him. And for Dumbledore, it would turn into Ariana's corpse because that burdened him for a lifetime, and he was, very scared that he was the one who did it, and he was and it just burdened him. Okay. So this is like in Hogshead, there was a picture of Ariana that was kept by Aberforth. And well, I guess this is sort of like served as a memory. The picture could move and everything, but Ariana would not speak. That was part of her trauma because the Muggle boys had bullied her too much. And I can sort of see why Percival got sent to jail for teaching them a lesson because he was probably very mad that his daughter came back mentally traumatized. So Ariana was like a very big cause of why Dumbledore felt so much sadness, guilt, and also responsibility for the world because he doesn't want another incident like Ariana to happen. Of course, this painting in Hogshead is also a secret passageway to Hogwarts. I guess it would sort of symbolize her connection to Dumbledore. So Dumbledore and Grindelwald were best friends, and later ended when Aberforth and Grindelwald got in a fight, and Dumbledore got into it too, and that's how Ariana died. So in the beginning, they were actually pretty good friends. We mentioned this a bit in For the Greater Good when we talked about Grindelwald, and Dumbledore was actually the one who came up with the idea of the greater good. He's the one that wanted to um, sort of like Grindelwald's ideology of the greater good was mostly based off of Dumbledore's original thoughts. But of course, later on, Dumbledore realized that Grindelwald was going down the wrong path because they had different meanings of greater good. Like Grindelwald is more of a liar. He lies to people and has the people sacrificed for his greater good, while Dumbledore sacrifices himself or sometimes others who are willing to for the greater good, which we will talk about later. All right, so let's watch a short video of Albus Dumbledore and Grindelwald's first fight. Before this, they had a magical blood seal which prevented them from fighting, but from here they broke it. This is an excerpt from the movie Magical Beasts.
Who will love you now, Dumbledore? You're all alone.
Yep, that was like the first fight around them. That thing that was falling was like their blood seal in which they would not fight each other. However, they did, and it broke.
是的，也是他们俩曾经是最好的朋友，但是他们在共享同一个理念，然后 for the greater good，但是他们俩对这个理念的理解是完全不一样的，然后这也是导致了他们而且因为艾瑞安娜的这个死亡，也导致他们俩彻底的走向了不同的方向。
Yeah, so they were best friends, but they had a different meaning of greater good. They both believed in it, but it wasn't the same. So also the death of Ariana had also sort of driven them apart because Dumbledore he doesn't know who actually killed Ariana, but there's always a possibility. It's also Grindelwald that started the fight, so he sort of blames him for that. And
而且他还特别卑鄙的逃跑了。
Yeah, Grindelwald also ran away, and he took no responsibility. And even though afterwards he didn't want to go after Grindelwald because he was scared that Grindelwald would actually reveal that Dumbledore was the one who killed Ariana. And so up until Grindelwald started wreaking havoc in the government and everything, that was when he actually went and fought him. All right, so let's talk about power. So this is a character from the Lord of the Rings named Galadriel, who is like an elven queen. When she put on the ring, well, the ring, she turned into this image on.
Become the
Yeah,
dark queen.
Yeah, she became like a darker version of herself, and she later suppressed her urges and took it off. And that's why she and Gandalf, basically like the Dumbledore and Lord of the Rings, both refused the ring because more power than if they had more power, they would get more fear because they're unable to control the power. Dumbledore also had always stepped away from positions of power, positions of authority. They offered him to become Minister of Magic many times, but he always refused. So they all refused like these positions of power because they were already like very strong. If they were given even more, they would feel like too much in control and people would disagree.
因为力量越强大的人，他一旦犯错误，他造成的后果就越是严重。
When people get more power, especially if they were already pretty powerful, if they get even more power, the moment they make a mistake, the moment they lose control of the power or use their power on something bad,
the wrong way, yeah.
Yeah, it falls apart. So because see, if you're already pretty powerful, if you make a mistake, that's fine if you get impact. So do you guys know who this person is? Do you guys know who he is?
It's The Rock.
Yeah, it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And this is just some baby. So if a baby were to punch you, you would barely feel it, right? It's like
Just feel so cute.
Yeah. But if Dwayne Johnson had punched you, you would probably go flying. Yeah. So this is also like more power because if a baby punched you, we can, for example, like let's compare I don't know, maybe like Harry Potter in his first year and Dumbledore in Harry's first year. Like if Harry were to try to attack you using spells, not that he knows any, you probably wouldn't lose. But if Dumbledore were to attack you with all the knowledge and all the wisdom he has, you would probably die. So when something has more power, they literally can inflict more damage and have more power against people. So that's a cool little analogy with Mr. Johnson. So there's also something called the Deathly Hallows. Do you guys know what the three hollows are?
The bottom picture. The Elder One, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak.
Yes.
Invisibility Cloak. Yeah, let's go.
Yes. So they're represented by three shapes. So the triangle being the invisibility cloak, the circle being the resurrection stone, and the line being the elder wand. So each one of these have a very important, power. For example, the invisibility cloak is the most powerful invisibility cloak. It's undetectable. The elder wand is the strongest wand, and the resurrection stone can bring people back to life. Dumbledore and Grindelwald.
You can tell us the story of the Death Hallows. Dumbledore
and Grindelwald both all wanted it because they were very powerful according to the story of the three brothers. So the story of three brothers, they were very powerful wizards, but one day they met a river which nobody could cross. And they, using their powerful magic, they made a bridge, they made it across. And death, like quite literally death, greeted them because he was surprised because he would have to come here and get all the dead people every time. So he greeted them, it's like, oh my God, you guys passed, so I'll give you each a present. Because he's actually, of course, death wouldn't actually do that. He just knows that if he gives them anything amazing, then they'll eventually die because of it. He's just mad that the river didn't kill them, so he wants to kill them, but he can't do it directly. So the eldest brother asked for a wand that can defeat anybody. And so the death makes the elder wand. The second brother wants a stone that could bring back the dead because he misses his dead wife. So death takes a stone from the river and makes it the resurrection stone. The last one was very cautious and did not trust death, and he said have he wants to be able to hide from death and not be able to found when he wishes not to. So death takes off his own invisibility cloak and gives it to him. So the oldest brother, he after getting the elder one, he goes to a local pub. He goes there and gets challenged by another wizard, and he defeats him with ease because it's the elder one. And he brags about how his wand is the best and nobody can defeat him. And that night, somebody kills him in his sleep and takes the elder wand because it's just too powerful. Like, who would resist the temptation? So the eldest brother dies. Now, the resurrection stone. The second brother takes the resurrection stone and goes to his home where he resurrects his dead wife. However, there were two beings of two different worlds, right? He's living and she's not. So her being there but he can never reach her because they're not in different realms. She's dead, he is living, so he can never reach her. And because of this, he kills himself to join his wife. And so death also takes him. And lastly, the third brother, the invisibility cloak was so strong that even death could not find him. And after some time, he eventually takes it off and greets death with open arms because, death could not do anything else. And so the third one was the most successful one who was able to pass down his cloak through his generations. And eventually it ended in Harry's hands. So each of these three have like a specific meaning. The first one, the elder one, power. The second one, resurrection stone, love, because he brought back people from lover. And the last one, I guess it's just the last one we can say
谦逊
like
humble
humble, cautious. Well, it's the last one is mainly just like one for main characters. The third brother was obviously the smartest one, and it was also given to Harry. So, before Grindelwald and Dumbledore had their fight, they were trying to get all three of the Hollows because they knew they were real. At the moment, Grindelwald already had the Elder Wand, and so before they fought, Dumbledore was currently in possession of 0 Hollows. After they fought, he defeated Grindelwald and took the Elder One. So now he has 1. Around like the time Harry's parents died, he had asked to borrow the invisibility cloak of James for a bit, and he probably didn't realize at the time, but he had 2. Maybe he did realize. So he had 2 at the same time. And then, of course, when Harry went to Hogwarts, he returned the invisibility cloak as a Christmas gift. And so he went back to 1. In Harry's 6th year, he went to the ruins of the House of Gaunt, and there he found the Resurrection Stone, which was now also a ring and a Horcrux. So the Resurrection Stone's kind of, it's kind of weird. It's a ring. It's not just some ring. It's also the Gaunt's ring, which is also the sort of it was yeah, and it's also a hollow. It's also a Horcrux, Voldemort's Horcrux. He later destroys the Horcrux, of course. However, it leaves a very nasty black burn on his hand, which basically cuts down his lifespan by a ton. But of course, the Resurrection Stone is still it still has its powers. It's just not a Horcrux anymore. And last, he basically had 2, but of course he probably didn't know it was a Horcrux, maybe a Hollow. Maybe he did. That's why he left it for Harry. So, and then he dies in the 6th year. So he never actually managed to gather all 3 at the same time, but he did have them at separate times. Now, if we look at Harry, he by Dumbledore said that he was the true master of all three. So let's look at when Harry actually possessed the Hollows. In the beginning, he had the invisibility cloak. In his seventh year, of course, he defeats Draco, and he technically has the wand. Of course, he doesn't have it in his hand, but he is basically the owner of it. And he also has the Resurrection Stone in the snitch. Of course, he doesn't keep them for very long because he knows they all are very dangerous and powerful artifacts. So in the book, he gives the wand back to Dumbledore's painting. Well, he doesn't really give it back. He just like doesn't use it. He fixes his own wand. But in the movie, he snaps it in half and he throws it into the ruins of Hogwarts. He also drops the Resurrection Stone somewhere in the Forbidden Forest, and he keeps the cloak to pass down, just like the third brother in the story did.
其实邓布利多只对那个复活石特别感兴趣，因为他很想复活他的家人，所以说他后来明明知道那个是伏地魔的那个魂器，依然把它戴在手上，然后把手给烧坏了，然后也缩短了他的寿命。
Yeah. Dumbledore was actually not interested in the Elder Wand or the invisibility cloak very much. He mainly wanted the Resurrection Stone. Like we said before, he was very guilty and burdened by the death of Ariana. So, despite he knew that it was Voldemort's Horcrux and it probably had some dark magic in it, he still put it on his finger and he hoped that he would be able to see Ariana again to apologize. But of course, it didn't work because he didn't know how to use it, and also it was a Horcrux. And so he burns his hand with Voldemort's dark magic, and that cuts down his lifespan by a bunch. All right, so let's watch a short video about Aberforth Dumbledore. Aberforth tells Harry and Ron and and Hermione about what his brother, what Albus did during his lifetime.
Did you get a look at him? For a second I thought it was...
I know. Dumbledore. All right. I can see you in this.
Bloody fools. What were you thinking coming here? Have you any idea how dangerous it is?
You're Aberforth, Dumbledore's brother. It's you who I've been seeing in here. You're the one who sent Dobby.
Where have you left him?
He's dead.
Sorry to hear it. I like that elf.
Who gave that to you?
The mirror. Madungus Fletcher. About a year ago.
Dum had no right selling that to you. It belongs...
Serious. Albus told me. He also told me you'd likely be hacked off if you ever found out I had it. But ask yourself, where would you be if I didn't?
Do you hear from the others much? From the Order?
The order's finished. You know who's won. Anyone who says otherwise is kidding themselves.
We need to get into Hogwarts. Tonight. Dumbledore gave us a job to do.
Did he now? Nice job. Easy.
We've been hunting Horcruxes. We think the last one's inside the castle, but we'll need your help getting in.
Not a job my brother's given you. It's a suicide mission. Do yourself a favor, boy. Go home. Live a little longer.
Dumbledore trusted me to see this through.
What makes you think you can trust him? What makes you think you can believe anything my brother told you in all the time you knew him? Did he ever mention my name? Did he ever mention hers?
Why should he?
Keep secrets, you tell me.
I trusted him.
That's a boy's answer. A boy who goes chasing Horcruxes on the word of a man who wouldn't even tell him where to start. You're lying. Not just to me, that doesn't matter. To yourself as well. That's what a fool does. You don't strike me as a fool, Harry Potter. So I'll ask you again. There must be a reason.
I'm not interested in what happened between you and your brother. I don't care that you've given up. I trusted the man I knew. We need to get into the castle tonight.
You know what to do.
Where have you sent her?
You'll see. Soon enough.
That's your sister Ariana, isn't it? She died very young, didn't she?
My brother sacrificed many things, Mr. Potter, on his journey to find power, including Ariana. And she was devoted to him. He gave her everything but time.
Thank you, Mr. Dumbledore. Did save our lives twice. Kept an eye on us in that mirror. That doesn't seem like someone who's given up. She's coming back.
Is that with her?
Who do you guys who did Ariana bring back with her? Do you guys know? Do you guys know?
Who?
Who did Ariana bring through the picture? Like who was about to say, "Oh my God, hi Harry"?
I think isn't it like Neville?
Yeah, okay, let's watch like the last 10 seconds.
Neville. Look, you look like hell, I reckon. This is nothing. Seamus is worse. Hey, Ab, we've got a couple more coming through.
Yeah, okay, that was like only the last 10 seconds, but yeah, it was never. Right, so from this, all right. One quote from Aberforth was, "My brother sacrificed many things on the journey to find power." Like before, like Dumbledore and Grindelwald sort of broke apart. They were trying to find the Hollows. They were trying to sort of establish themselves as powerful figures. But of course, when Ariana died, Dumbledore knew that he had crossed the line through from pursuing power. He was too bent on trying to obtain power that he didn't realize what he had done to his surrounding people and surroundings. He had broke relationships with many people, and uh, he and Grindelwald and Aberforth had killed his sister.
嗯，所以阿里安娜的死也给他上了一课。他在追求力量的这个过程中，然后已经忽略了他的家庭，然后忽略了他的家庭，忽略了他周围的事。但是对于邓布利多来说，我们说过我们这一期的主题叫做被束缚的邓布利多，他其实是一个对家庭，然后对整个世界，然后非常有责任感的人。所以说他这个时候也意识到了自己的一个错误。
Yeah. So Ariana's death gave Dumbledore a lesson, like through his journey to pursue power, he had completely forgotten and neglected his family. Of course, in the beginning, he didn't really have intention to do that, even when he was supposed to go around have a world tour and everything. He wanted to bring Ariana with him. However, of course, he wasn't able to because she was mentally ill. Of course, now back to what we said in the beginning, his and Grindelwald's greater good are different. Grindelwald lies to people and tells them to sacrifice for his greater good. And we talked about this like a month earlier when we were talking about greater good. This time we'll talk about Dumbledore's greater good. He sacrificed himself or those who wanted were willing to sacrifice for the people's greater good. For example, he sacrificed Harry. He knew Harry was a Horcrux, and he knew Harry had to sacrifice himself in order for Voldemort to die. And of course, nobody actually knew that Harry would actually make it out alive. They didn't know that Voldemort would fail at killing him. They all thought that he would just die, and then we'll have, I don't know, like Ron or Hermione finish Voldemort off. But of course, Harry did the unexpected and came back alive. So he also taught Harry a full year on Horcruxes, about Horcruxes, what Voldemort's Horcruxes are, and had him go on a mission sacrificing his last year at Hogwarts, and also Ron and Hermione's last year at Hogwarts to go around and try to defeat Voldemort. And then, of course, he hunted down most of the Horcruxes, and including himself, ultimately sacrificing himself. However, Harry later makes it back alive because he's the main character. Mm-hmm. Snape is also sacrificed. Like Snape, some people may say that Dumbledore manipulated Snape because he always used the excuse of doing it for Lily or Lily's son to use Snape. But of course, Snape, well, he gave Snape a choice, and Snape wanted to because of his undying love for Lily. So he had Snape do many things before and after his death. For example, in the beginning, he had him spy on Voldemort, and after his death, he had him give the sword of Gryffindor to Harry and his group. Also had him kill Dumbledore, and so that way he can, get closer to Voldemort. However, of course, in the end, Voldemort did kill him because Dumbledore had used Snape to kill him. So Snape was also killed by Voldemort. As you may see, all the people that Dumbledore used, Harry, Snape, and himself, were all sacrificed to Voldemort in hopes of defeating him for the greater good. Mm-hmm. Now, Snape was killed by Voldemort because, Dumbledore had Snape kill himself, had Snape kill him so that he could establish Snape as a very trustworthy person in Voldemort's ranks. Of course, Voldemort later thought that it was because of Snape that he wasn't able to use the Elder Wand. I don't think Dumbledore predicted this, so I guess Snape dying isn't entirely his fault, but Snape is sacrificed. Until then, nobody actually knew on Voldemort's side that Snape was actually Dumbledore's secret agent. Mm-hmm. And Harry, of course, let's go back, he was also killed by Voldemort as when he went in and saw the memory about Snape talking to Dumbledore about how they were just raising Harry for him to die because he was a Horcrux. However, Harry did go through with the plan and had Voldemort kill him. But I think if he had anyone else kill him, if he had just committed suicide, then he probably would not have come back to life. I think Voldemort, it was because it was Voldemort that killed him that only got rid of the Horcrux part of him. So that was pretty lucky for Harry. Like, if he had jumped off the astronomy tower, like how Dumbledore died, maybe he would be dead, and maybe Voldemort would have won, or maybe he would have been killed by someone else. But the way that Voldemort killed him, I think he managed to survive. Alright, so Dumbledore, the scene we see him sacrifice himself, of course, Dumbledore wouldn't just sacrifice other people, then that would barely make him any different from Grindelwald. What he did do was he sacrificed himself for the continuation of act that would lead to the greater good. He sacrificed himself for Harry's quest for the greater good. He sacrificed himself so that Snape would be able to establish himself next to Voldemort, and he sacrificed himself for the greater good. Let's look at this video.
We need to get you to the hospital wing, sir. To Madame Pomfrey.
Oh. No. Severus. Severus is who I need. Wake him. Tell him what happened. Speak to no one else. Severus, Harry. Hide yourself below, Harry. Don't speak or be seen by anybody without my permission. Whatever happens, it's imperative you stay below. Harry, do as I say. Trust me. Trust me. Good evening, Draco. What brings you here on this fine spring evening?
Who else is here? I heard you talking.
I often talk aloud to myself. I find it extraordinarily useful. Have you been whispering to yourself, Draco? Draco, you are no assassin.
How do you know what I am? Done things that would shock you.
Oh, like cursing Katie Bell and hoping that in return she'd bear a cursed necklace to me. Like replacing a bottle of mead with one laced with poison. Forgive me, Draco. I cannot help feeling these actions are so weak that your heart can't really have been in them.
You trust me. I was chosen.
I shall make it easy for you.
I promise.
Very good. Very good. You're not alone. There are others. How?
The vanishing cabinet in the room of requirement. I've been mending it.
Let me guess. It has a sister. A twin.
Borgin and Burke's. They form a passage.
Ingenious. Draco, years ago, I knew a boy who made all the wrong choices. Please let me help you.
I don't want your help. Don't you understand? I have to do this. I have to kill you. He's gonna kill me.
Look what we have here. Well done, Draco.
Good evening, Bellatrix. I think introductions are in order, don't you?
Love to, Elvis. But I'm afraid we're on a bit of a tight schedule. Do it!
He doesn't have the stomach, just like his father. Let me finish him in my own way.
No! The Dark Lord was clear the boys to do it. This is your moment. Do it. Go on, Draco. No!
No. Severus. Please. Avada Kedavra.
Yep, so Snape kills Dumbledore. So, Yeah, that establishes Snape.
This is a plan.
Yeah, that yeah, it was planned. Right. So one thing I sort of wanted to mention was that in the movie, the actor for Dumbledore didn't really have this part out, but in this book, it said that when he said Severus, please, it was like a voice that was like sort of afraid, like a scared voice, not like a begging voice. Like in here, we see him say like Severus, please, please do it. But in the book, it was actually a scared voice. So, of course, many people might think that he's scared of Snape, which he is not. He is scared that Snape did not was not brave enough to kill him. That's why he was scared. And so that's Dumbledore's self-sacrifice and the greater good. So he sacrificed himself um for the greater good of his plans to kill Voldemort. So yeah, we'll just glaze over this slide. He sacrificed himself for Snape and Harry to try to beat Voldemort. So have you guys watched Spider-Man? If you guys have watched Spider-Man, you guys will probably know the quote, with great power comes great responsibility. Uncle Ben, and probably a lot of other versions from all the three Spider-Man series. And we do see this is like, we mentioned this in the first slide, right? When we introduced the main topic. With great power comes great responsibility. And that also is prevalent in many, many stories. Like Dumbledore, he has great power and he also has great responsibility to protect those who are weaker, those who are oppressed. And those who are strong must always protect those who are weak. That's a very common theme. Like in Spider-Man, we have Peter Parker. He's very strong, so he has responsibility to protect the city from strong villains and such. And that is a very great lesson for heroes and, you know, those, especially strong heroes. When people get great power, they also have great responsibility. That's also when we mentioned here, when they have more power, they also have more responsibility to not use it against the good, right? When you get more power, you have to use it wisely.
是的，而且，这种也包含着一种，在这句话里头也包含着一种，就是要牺牲自己去，强者要牺牲自己去保护弱者的这么一种理念。
Yeah, but also has like the strong must sacrifice for the weak if they have to. And also it's like it also has like a very thing linked. I think this really relates to Peter Parker because he just got bit and he got powers. So he doesn't understand how tough it is, you know, like Dumbledore understands because he got his strength from hard work, from studying, while Peter just got one from a spider bite. So Dumbledore he realizes the importance of this quote, and Peter does not until Uncle Ben actually dies. Right. So next we'll finally get into the Greek mythology part. We have Dumbledore. He sort of relates to Prometheus because Prometheus is also a Titan who is one of the strongest godlike creatures, and he protects the weak, which are us humans. Let's watch this video real quick.
Before the creation of humanity, the Greek gods won a great battle against a race of giants called the Titans. Most Titans were destroyed or driven to the eternal hell of Tartarus. But the Titan Prometheus, whose name means foresight, persuaded his brother Epimetheus to fight with him on the side of the gods. As thanks, Zeus entrusted the brothers with the task of creating all living things. Epimetheus was to distribute the gifts of the gods among the creatures. To some he gave flight, to others the ability to move through water or race through grass. He gave the beasts glittering scales, soft fur, and sharp claws. Meanwhile, Prometheus shaped the first humans out of mud. He formed them in the image of the gods, but Zeus decreed they were to remain mortal and worship the inhabitants of Mount Olympus from below. Zeus deemed humans subservient creatures, vulnerable to the elements and dependent on the gods for protection. However, Prometheus envisioned his crude creations with a greater purpose. So when Zeus asked him to decide how sacrifices would be made, the wily Prometheus planned a trick that would give humans some advantage. He killed a bull and divided it into 2 parts to present to Zeus. On one side, he concealed the succulent flesh and skin under the unappealing belly of the animal. On the other, he hid the bones under a thick layer of fat. When Zeus chose the seemingly best portion for himself, he was outraged at Prometheus's deception. Fuming, Zeus forbade the use of fire on Earth, whether to cook meat or for any other purpose. But Prometheus refused to see his creations denied this resource. And so he scaled Mount Olympus to steal fire from the workshop of Hephaestus and Athena. He hid the flames in a hollow fennel stalk and brought it safely down to the people. This gave them the power to harness nature for their own benefit and ultimately dominate the natural order. With fire, humans could care for themselves with food and warmth, but they could also forge weapons and wage war. Prometheus's flames acted as a catalyst for the rapid progression of civilization. When Zeus looked down at this scene, he realized what had happened. Prometheus had once again wounded his pride and subverted his authority. Furious, Zeus imposed a brutal punishment. Prometheus was to be chained to a cliff for eternity. Each day, he would be visited by a vulture who would tear out his liver, and each night his liver would grow back to be attacked again in the morning. Although Prometheus remained in perpetual agony, he never expressed regret at his act of rebellion. His resilience in the face of oppression made him a beloved figure in mythology. He was also celebrated for his mischievous and inquisitive spirit, and for the knowledge, progress, and power he brought to human hands. He's also a recurring figure in art and literature. In Percy Bysshe Shelley's lyrical drama Prometheus Unbound, the author imagines Prometheus as a romantic hero who escapes and continues to spread empathy and knowledge. Of his protagonist, Shelley wrote, "Prometheus is the type of the highest perfection of moral and intellectual nature, impelled by the purest and the truest motives to the best and noblest ends." His wife Mary envisaged Prometheus as a more cautionary figure and subtitled her novel Frankenstein, "The Modern Prometheus." This suggests the damage of corrupting the natural order and remains relevant to the ethical questions surrounding science and technology today. As hero, rebel, or trickster, Prometheus remains a symbol of our capacity to capture the powers of nature. And ultimately, he reminds us of the potential of individual acts to ignite the world.
Right. So, one similar, well, let's talk about similarities between Prometheus and Dumbledore and why we brought up Prometheus. So they both sacrifice themselves for the weak. They both protect the weak. For example, Dumbledore, it has always been like he protected Lupin, for example.
Ted.
Yeah, for example, Dumbledore protecting Muggles, Lupin, well, werewolves, hippogriffs, magic creatures, Dobby the elf, friends. He offered friends a job, and Sears like Trenwalny. As for Prometheus, he protected humans, gave them fire, and also sacrificed for them. He got chained to a cliff and had his liver get eaten every day, have it grow back at the night in perpetual agony. Dumbledore also sacrificed himself for these people to live in a better world, because if Voldemort had taken over some of these, for example, the Muggles would suffer, and if they didn't, they would all probably be in peace.
邓布利多其实是最有理由仇恨 Muggle 的人，但是他没有，他反而终身致力于保护这些麻瓜。他的家庭因为麻瓜真的是受了好多的苦。
Yeah, Dumbledore actually has the best reason to hate Muggles, because his sister was given like mental trauma from because of Muggles. His father because of the event was put into jail and their family was ripped apart. And so, however, he still decides to protect them and protect all and well all that is weaker than him against those who want to oppress them. Right. So in the end, let's look at the top 10 Dumbledore quotes and his wisdom through them. Because Dumbledore, sometimes he can be a bit of a goofball. Remember in the first book, his words in the feast were nibble, tweak, and well, they were pretty eccentric words. But he is a very wise person.
Horace, you mind if I take this? I do love knitting patterns.
Do not pity the dead, Harry. Pity the living. And above all those who live without love.
But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times. If one only remembers to turn on the light.
Of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. Why should that mean that it's not real? Dark and difficult times lie ahead. Soon we must all face the choice between what is right and what is easy.
You seem to be laboring under the delusion that I'm going to, what was the phrase? Come quietly. Well, I can tell you this. I have no intention of going to Azkaban.
Just like your mother, you're unfailingly kind. A trait people never fail to undervalue, I'm afraid.
It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.
It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices. However, you will find that help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it.
Yep, and that is it. All right, thank you guys for coming. And today is we talked about Dumbledore and how power comes with responsibility, and about how strong well those in power always need to protect those who are weaker.
好的，那我们下一周的话是休假，然后我们下周等大家的假期结束之后，我们回来再见面，再
All right,
见。
next week, yep.